Hello and welcome to Storytime at 9 once again. Well, for those of you who are joining for the first time, very briefly, this is from the Bakul Library in Satyanagar, Bhubaneswar, where we used to have storytelling from around the world for multicultural exposure. But last year when we closed the library for the pandemic, we thought, why not we do it? And every Saturday we've been traveling to different countries with the finest storytellers from that country who not only tell us stories, but also introduce the culture of the country. So we have already traveled to 44 countries, and all the past episodes, you can go to YouTube, the Bakul Foundation channel on YouTube, and go to the playlist Storytime at 9, and you can see all of them. There have been more than 44 episodes, of course, more than 50. Okay, but then some countries we repeated because we got great storytellers from those countries. But today, we travel to the country which is considered the cradle of Western civilization. So many of the myths, the phrases in the English language go back to that, the land of the Greek gods and goddesses, the Greek mythology, Greece. So, I was very keen that we must travel to Greece. So there are many friends, storyteller friends, who did storytelling sessions for us, who have been helping us connect to different storytellers. So one of them who's helped us a lot, Giovanna Conforto from Italy. I told her that we have to have a wonderful storyteller from Greece. And she connected me with Stella Kassimati, right? Who is one of the most famous storytellers from Greece. She teaches at the School of Storytelling in UK, which is one of the most famous schools to groom professional storytellers in the world. So many storytellers I know from India, professional storytellers go there for grooming. And Stella is a master storyteller who grooms these storytellers, right? Stella, of course, has a strong interest in Greek mythology, particularly in the stories behind many of the things that we are familiar with. Because, as I said, Greece is the cradle of Western civilization. So today, we will listen to Stella tell us stories from Greece, stories which are the backstories of some of the things that we know about. I won't divulge what it is. She will tell you herself. And after that, Stella will also tell us about her country and its culture, right? And at the end of that, we also have, last time, we played a video of a child from St. Xavier's High School, Kedargori. And today, we are going to play a video of a child from St. Xavier's High School, Patia. Now, in the second season of Storytime at 9, many schools participated and they sent us videos from which we selected, or rather there was a lottery and we played one of the videos. But of course, all the videos sent by the schools were uploaded on the Bakul Foundation YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook page. And today also, this time also, that will be the same, right? So after Stella finishes, we will listen to one of the students from St. Xavier's High School, Patia, tell a story, or rather retell a story that was told earlier at Storytime at 9. But before I hand it over to Stella, just to remind you something that I keep repeating always, do not forget to share this video with all your friends. Please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel or to like the Facebook page as well, right? So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the session. Over to you, Stella.
Hello, everybody. Sujit, thank you so much for such an introduction. I hope I will live up to it. Today, I am going to share with you a small bit of the great story of Hercules and how the Olympic Games came to be. Now, Hercules is his Roman or Latin name. His Greek name is Iraklis, and it means the glory of Hera. Hera was queen of heaven. She was the wife of Zeus, king of the gods. And Zeus was the father of Heracles. Heracles, even as a baby, he was strong and he was brave. Hera, she was angry and she was jealous because her husband was the father of this child. She did not like that, so she decided to get rid of this child. When he was just 10 months old, she sent 2 monstrous blue serpents to kill him. As they writhed and hissed and curled along the ground, Zeus caused Heracles to wake up. The baby sat up and smiled, and he grabbed a snake in each of his little hands by the neck and held tight. They hissed and spat venom, but he held the fangs away from him, and he squeezed and he squeezed and he squeezed till he throttled them. Then he gurgled with delight and threw them out of his crib. After this incident, he grew up in safety, and very quickly. His mortal parents, Queen Alcmene, who was his mother, and King Amphitryon, who was his adopted mortal father, they looked after him very well and gave him a princely education. So he learned to play the lyre, to read and to write. He learned to ride the chariot and to use the sword and the spear, and of course to throw an arrow. He learned archery. And when all that was done, he learned boxing and wrestling. He was the best at everything he did. It was obvious, even as a child, that he was the son of Zeus, king of the gods. For he was bigger and taller and stronger than any other child. Unfortunately, he also had a very bad temper, which he sometimes lost. And so his adopted father, King Amphitryon, he was quite worried about this. He thought that this might get him into a lot of trouble. So he sent him off to the mountains to tend the cattle. And that is where Heracles spent his teenage years, looking after the cattle on the mountain all alone. And he learned many things. He excelled in his skills, he practiced a lot, and nature was his teacher. One day, when he was 18, he was sitting under a tree, an olive tree in the shade, and playing his lyre. And he was thinking, am I going to be herding cattle for the rest of my life? Or maybe I should become a robber, a thief, and go off into the mountains for adventures. Just then, 2 maidens appeared and started walking towards him. The one was wearing a simple white tunic, and she had her head slightly bowed and her eyes cast down in modesty. Her face was gentle and sweet. The other, well, she was glancing around boldly, and she came striding up to Heracles. She was wearing bright colors and jewelry and makeup. Wow, she looked stunning. She said, Heracles, You are now a man. You must choose what kind of life you want to lead. Come with me, be my friend, and I will give you a life of ease, a life full of pleasures and delights. No troubles will be yours. My path is the quickest way to happiness, for that is my name. My name is happiness. Oh, son of Zeus, said the other girl. You are brave and you are strong and you have learnt many skills and you are the best at all you do. Come with me and you will live a life of glory and excellence. Your name will never, ever be forgotten. But the path to excellence and glory is difficult. You will have to work hard. Do not listen to my companion. Her name is not happiness. Her name is folly. Oh, don't listen to this silly, foolish girl. Her name, you know, is virtue. Ugh. Come with me for an easy life, short and sweet and lovely. Heracles, said Virtue, you must make your choice. Heracles looked straight at Virtue and he said, I choose you, my lady, and I promise I will work hard and I will endure any difficulties. I will not give up. That is a wise choice, said Virtue, but what is going on with your cattle over there? Heracles looked and he saw a great big lion pouncing in among his cattle and the cattle running off in terror. When he turned back to speak to the two maidens, they were gone. Heracles chased this huge lion. He tracked him down right to his lair. His lair was a dark, evil-smelling cave. There, with his club made of olive wood, he wrestled, he fought, ferocious fight, and finally he was able to hit him on the head once, twice, and the lion lay dead. Then he tried to skin the lion with his knife, but the knife was not sharp enough. He sharpened the knife, but still he could not skin the lion. It was only by using the lion's claws that he managed to skin the lion. And he dried the skin, he cured it, and he forever wore it on his shoulders, tied around him with the head, the lion's head on his head, like a helmet. Many years passed from that time. Many adventures he had, which I'm afraid I have no time to tell you. But now he was married. He was very happily married. He had 3 wonderful sons. He loved them very, very much, and he taught them everything he knew. He played a lot with them as well. He was happy. He was content. He was doing no great deeds. He was just enjoying his life. Now Zeus, from up above Mount Olympus, he noticed this. And he shared his observation with his wife, Hera. Leave everything to me, she said, and went off gleefully. Now Athene, who was Zeus's daughter, well, she was the goddess of wisdom. She saw and heard this conversation. She looked at her father and he nodded. So quietly she followed Hera from a distance. for she knew that great trouble was about to come. Heracles was sitting on a hillside, his bow over his shoulder and his quiver of arrows next to him as always, and he was admiring his sons playing with their friends. He was so proud of them. What a lovely sight these boys were. Just then, a dark cloud covered the sun, and a low moaning sound came and stopped just above Heracles. Heracles, he staggered to his feet, his eyes started to roll, his mouth was foaming, and he shouted, "Enemies are upon us!" In his madness, he thought that his sons and their friends were enemies. He started shooting arrows at them and killing them. Luckily, Athene arrived just at that moment. She saw what was happening and picked up a huge boulder and threw it at Heracles, hit him on the head, and knocked him out. Well, Heracles was exiled, and his lovely wife died of a broken heart. She could not bear the loss of her 3 sons. When Heracles recovered, he was filled with grief and remorse, despair. He had lost everything. What had he done? It was the will of the gods, though. He roamed and roamed aimlessly around Greece for months. Finally, he came to Delphi, the oracle of Apollo, where he asked the gods what should he do to atone for these terrible things that he had done. The gods replied that he must go to King Eurystheus of Argolis and to obey his every command. Now, King Eurystheus was a weak and cowardly king. But Hera, the queen of heaven, she appeared to him in his dream, and she told him not to worry. Heracles, the strongest man alive, was going to come there, but he must not be afraid, because she would tell him exactly what he must do. So when Heracles presented himself to Eurystheus, Eurystheus was delighted to have this strong man in his service, at his beck and call, obeying his commands. Hera inspired Eurystheus to give Heracles 12 athli, tasks, labors. In Greek, athli. So that is the word athlete, comes from that, an achiever. His 5th labor was to go and clean the stables of King Aviers of Elis by hand in one day. Now, King Aviers was the son of Helios, and Helios had given him many, many cattle and sheep. And every year these wonderful cattle and sheep multiplied and multiplied. And soon there was so much manure and dung in the country that he could not clean it fast enough. His servants day and night labored to clean the stables, but they could not. Soon there were heaps and mountains of manure and dung all over the country. The stench was terrible. The crops started dying with so much manure. And then diseases started. Aviers had to do something. So he promised a huge reward for anyone who could come and help get rid of this manure, clean his country and his stables. That is when Heracles arrived. And he promised that he would clean the stables and clear the country of manure in a day. Well, King Avies did not really believe a word of that. How could he do this in a day? So without thinking much, he said, "Oh, that is amazing, fantastic. And I promise to give you 1/10 of my kingdom and 1/10 of my herds." "That is a good deal," said Heracles, and they shook hands. Witness to the deal was the king's own son, Phileas. The very next day, Heracles set to the task. He started shoveling, but he soon realized that this was not going to do the trick. So he thought and he thought, and with the help of Athene, the goddess of wisdom, he came up with a plan. He dug a ditch under the stables, a huge ditch. Then he went and he joined two rivers. He changed their courses so that they would join, and the waters of the two rivers came gushing down the ditch, and with such speed they cleared the manure from the land and from the stables and into the sea in a matter of a few hours. Then he went and he closed the door of the stables. He put the two rivers back on their proper courses, and he went to King Avies to collect his reward. Well, King Avies, he could not believe his eyes. And he refused to give him his reward because he had heard that actually he was under the orders of Eurystheus, and this was one of his labors. And in fact, he should have been doing that by hand and not using the rivers. Heracles was furious. Remember his bad temper. He said, "A deal is a deal. I have a deal with you, and you said if I do it in a day, I will get this reward, and I need this reward now." But Avies, he refused. His son, who had been witness to the deal, he said that a deal is a deal, and his father must give the reward to Heracles. Well, now Avies was furious, so he banished his own son from his kingdom, and of course he banished Heracles as well, without giving him the reward. Now Heracles left, but he never forgot this treachery. He went on to finish his other labors, the 12 labors, and when he was a free man, he remembered King Avies. So he gathered an army of fine, strong men, and he marched on Elis. Now, King Avies, he had also been gathering an army all these years because Heracles was not known to be a forgiving man. Head of his army was a monstrous commander. He had one body, 2 heads, 4 arms, and 4 legs. He was stronger than any man, except for Heracles, of course. And he rode an amazing white horse that was fastest than any horse. The 2 armies met, and there was a great battle. The battle carried on and on for many days. Heracles fought for 100 men, but no one was winning. Unfortunately, Heracles fell ill with a very high fever. So he sent a message to Avies to ask for a truce so that he could get better. A truce? No. This is my chance to kill him and beat him once and forever, thought Aviers. Instead of a truce, he gathered his whole army, full force attack. Heracles' army was destroyed. Many of his men were killed, others were injured, and the rest were forced to surrender their arms and flee. Heracles was alone and sick. When this commander with the two heads, they called him Euryto and Cleato, this terrible commander, when he saw that Heracles was alone, jumped on his horse and started chasing Heracles. Heracles, even though he was sick with high fever, he started running. He ran and he ran, and the commander chased and chased him, but no matter how fast his horse was, he could not catch Heracles. Heracles ran up mountains, across valleys, he ran. Across fields and meadows, he ran. All the time he was running and sick. He was praying to his father Zeus for strength. And he ran, feeling the strength of his father Zeus. He ran and he ran till finally he was out of the country, safe. It took him some time to recover. But when he was well again he gathered an army of fine men and marched on Elis. This time, King Aviers was not so lucky, for Heracles was victorious. Aviers was killed, as was his monstrous commander. Heracles called back Aviers' son, Phileas, who had been banished, and made him king of Elis. Now, in honor and gratitude to his father Zeus, Heracles decided to start a great festival, which proved to be the greatest festival ever. This festival was so great that when it was on every 4 years, all battles and all wars and all fights stopped, so that everybody could come, friend and foe could come and take part in this festival. And it was organized in nearby Olympia, for Olympia is very close to Elis. And so it came to be known as the Olympic Games. Heracles himself, he ran as fast as he could with one breath. And the length of how far he could run with one breath became the length of the stadium. So he himself made the stadium and he planted an olive tree. And the leaf of the olive tree is a symbol of peace. And the winner of the Olympic Games received a wreath of olive leaves to symbolize peace, achievement, and freedom. So these games, this great festival, has lasted for thousands of years, maybe 5,000-6,000 of years. And we still celebrate this festival today. So just in August, we had the Olympic Games in Tokyo. And in a few years, in 2024, we will have them in Paris. And from what I hear, Olympic Games are starting to be organized in India as well. These great games, founded by the greatest hero of ancient Greece, Iraklis.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much for such a lovely story. Now, children, I'm sure you must have thoroughly enjoyed. Now, this is a story I'm sure you're dying to tell all your friends, because imagine everyone knows about the Olympics, right? But how many people know the story behind how the Olympics started, right? How the ancient Olympics started. And not only that, you have so many stories within this story. Like in our Ramayana and Mahabharata, in our epics, we have so many stories in that one story. We had so many stories here. And as Stella was telling the stories, because all of us, we have English as the language in which we learn in school, right? So many phrases in the English language have come from these stories. For example, whether it is an Olympian thing or a Herculean task, which we heard about, or cleaning the Aegean stables, holding out the olive branch. I can just rattle on and on. It's like a lesson in idioms and phrases of the English language. And the stories behind these idioms and phrases that we use in the language, right? Because English borrowed heavily, in terms of its imagination from ancient Greece. In fact, the English Renaissance, the Renaissance in Europe, Renaissance meaning rebirth, happened with a return to these old Greek myths and the imagination. So thank you very much, Stella. Now, so what you have to do now, the task for you children is listen to this again, as many times as possible, and tell this story to your friends, to your family, to your friends, right? Now, if it's too much of a task, you can also pick up stories within the story and tell them, right? What you can also do, an easier part, a cheat task, of course, is that you share this video. That's the easiest thing to do. Share this video with your friends, with your family, and others. This is the story of how the ancient Olympics started, right? So definitely share this video with all your friends and family. Do not forget to subscribe to the many of you have. Thank you very much. Please tell your friends also to subscribe to the YouTube channel or to like the Facebook page so that they can get all the notifications about all such Olympian storytelling that we are having at Storytime at 9 on the Buckle Foundation pages. Those of you, who've missed out any of the earlier sessions, remember that you can go to the YouTube channel of Buckle Foundation, go to the playlist of Storytime at 9, and go back to all the earlier storytelling sessions. Now we have already traveled to 43 countries, including this, right? In more than 50 sessions. So now Stella will tell us more about more stories associated with, the places of Greece and the culture of Greece. So, Stella, I'll share the presentation and you can tell us about your country. Will that work?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. But before we start, children, please do not talk among yourselves. Please do not chat. Please listen to this, right? Today, unfortunately, we may not have the question and answer session, depends on the time, but we're definitely looking forward to listening to our child storyteller, which will happen after this presentation, right? One of you whose story will be shared today. So now let's listen to Stella tell us about Greek and its culture.
Right. So there you see a map of the world, and it feels like right in the middle is Greece. So Greece is, I don't know, can you see the arrow? Here, can you see my arrow? Suyit, if I show something?
No.
No.
We'll not be able to see it. Yeah.
All right. So right in the middle, that little red spot there is Greece. So it is part of Europe, it is part of the Balkans, it is part of Asia, and it is on the border of Africa. Greece has more than 2,000 islands, and 170 of them are inhabited. The rest are not. So there is a Greek legend that said that God, when he made the world, he used a sieve and he put the soil in all of Europe, and then there were some stones left in the sieve, and he just emptied the stones where Greece is. So Greece is a very mountainous, rocky place, and it is quite hard to live in Greece. So there are more Greeks outside of Greece than there are actually living in Greece. There are about 11 million Greek people of Greek origin living abroad, and about 10 million Greek people living in Greece. It is a difficult place to make a living. Should we see the flag? This is our flag. You can see it has a square with a cross, and then it has 9 lines, blue and white lines. So we have the blue and white, which is the colors of the sea, because we have so much sea, so many islands. And there are 9 blue and white lines. And those lines are for the syllables of the phrase Eleftheria ή θάνατος, which means freedom or death, which is what we fought with when we fought for our independence from the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire occupied Greece about 400 years, and our motto was Eleftheria ή θάνατος. That is 9 syllables, freedom or death. Now next. So here it is, close up. You can see all the islands around, and we have many neighbors. We have Albania, Macedonia, Bulgaria, and our huge neighbor, Turkey. Traditionally and historically, Turkey is supposed to be our enemy. Greeks and Turks are supposed to be enemies, but that is not so. There is nothing that separates the people. I have some of my bestest friends coming from Turkey. We have the same customs, the same cuisine. So really, what I see is that when people are separated, it is not their will. It is something from above. And you can see here 2 mountains it shows. Mount Olympus, because remember, it's a very rocky place. So our mountains are holy as well, in a way. So there's Mount Olympus, and that is where the home of the gods, the Olympian gods, was. And then further down is Mount Parnassos, and that is where Delphi is, actually. Remember where Heracles went to ask the gods what he should do. That is where the Oracle of Delphi is. I'll show you that later. Now, the capital of Greece is Athens. And can we see the next slide? What is well known about Athens is the Acropolis, built on the hill thousands of years ago. And the most famous monument of the Acropolis is, can we see the next slide, is the Parthenon. And that was a temple to the goddess Athena. For Athens has her name. Now it is said that Poseidon, god of the seas, he also wanted to have Athens as his city. And Athene also wanted to have Athens as her city. So the people asked each of the gods to give them a gift. so they could choose which one they wanted. And Poseidon, while he with his trident as god of the sea, he struck a rock and out came water. Wow, thought the people. But when they went to drink the water, it was salty. It was seawater. Then Athene, she gently touched the ground with her spear, and out came the olive tree. The olive tree, whose leaves, as we know, symbolize peace and were used to crown the winner of the Olympic Games, whose fruit, the olive, can be eaten, but also it can be made into gold, the olive oil, and its branches can be used to keep us warm in winter. So this was a magnificent gift. They decided, everyone together, that Athene must be their protector. And so they named the city after her. This is one of the greatest cultural monuments in the world. We'll go to the next slide. At the foot of the Acropolis is the Rethymnon Theatre. It is still used today and it is magnificent. But there are other theatres as well. Can we go to the next slide? Can we see the next slide, please? Can we have the next slide, please? The Olympia. All right. So here we are in Olympia. This is, sorry? That's all right. This is, it's, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Okay. So this is another great theater. It's in Epidavros, or as the English say, Epidaurus. And it is famous for its amazing acoustics. If you drop a pin on the stage, you can hear it at the topmost of the seats. And you can see in the picture below that it is still well used today. The ancient Greeks left us some amazing monuments, and that we still wonder at how did they make them so many thousands of years later, and we still use them. And I think it puts a burden on us and a question to us: what are we going to leave behind? What will our descendants find from us in 1,000 years? Can we go to the next picture and see Olympia? No, we're going backwards now. Olympia, we want to go up. That one, thank you. So here is Olympia, where the Olympic Games originated, and you can see what is left of the temples. But there in the temples, every 4 years there is a celebration of the lighting of the flame. For the Olympic Games cannot start without the flame from Olympia reaching the country. So in the picture below, you see the flame being lit for the games in Tokyo that took place this year. And then the flame will go all the way to Tokyo, and the next one will go to Paris by relay, by mostly on foot. And that will mark the beginning of the start of the Olympic Games. And the flame comes from here, from Olympia. Next one. Here we have Delphi, where Heracles came to ask the gods for what he should do. This here is not the temple. What you're seeing now is the temple of Athene. For in Delphi, there was first some water where you cleansed yourself, and then you came here to the temple of Athene to ask for clarity of thought. And then you carried on to the temple of Apollo, where you asked your question from the gods. You can see how beautiful it is. The next one. So Greece is known for two things, I think. Well, it's known for many things, but mainly for two things. The one is its ancient history, its past, and the other is tourism, its islands. So Greece is known and is considered as the cradle of Western civilization. It is the birthplace of democracy. It is where most where a lot of things were started off from, like Western literature, Western philosophy, science, drama. All these things were founded in ancient Greece. And as Sujit said and pointed out, there are many words that come from Greek, like athlete, an achiever, or school, scholio. There are many subjects that you do at school, like mathematics, mathematica, or biology, biologia, or zoology, which all come from the Greeks. And so ancient Greece played an important part, a founding part in Western philosophy and culture. That's on the one hand, that's very attractive. And on the other hand are our wonderful, wonderful islands. And many people come to visit Greece. There are 30 million people come to visit Greece every year, which is a lot if you think that we are only 10 million, a country of 10 million. So here you see Mykonos. Mykonos is known for its partying and its wild nightlife and socialites, and it's a very expensive island. The next one. This is Rhodes. The picture on the bottom right, that is the Colossus of Rhodes, how we imagine it might have been, or how sometimes they planned, some time ago, they planned they would rebuild. It doesn't exist, but it was one of the 7 wonders of the world. Today, what exists is a top right hand. It's the entrance to the harbor of Rhodes. The next one. And Santorini, beautiful Santorini. In there, you can see the caldera. It's the basin. There was a huge eruption of a volcano in about 1500 BC, and it actually killed it. Yeah, it was this huge eruption, and where the sea is now is the caldera, and around it they've built beautiful, beautiful little villages, blue and white, on the steep hills of the sides of the volcano. It is really beautiful. Can we see the next slide? Because that, I think, is the sunset at Santorini, because Santorini, apart from its beauty, is known for its wonderful sunsets. And the next slide. Right, so the biggest island of Greece and the 5th biggest in the Mediterranean is Crete. Now, Crete is where I come from. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more about Crete. Here is a picture of Heraklion, which is the largest city of Crete. And it was known as the port of Knossos. Now, Knossos is the oldest European civilization that is known. And it came to an end about the time of the volcano, 1500 BC, of the volcano in Santorini, which is quite close to Crete. It was such a big eruption and tsunami and everything that it ruined a lot of islands and cultures around. We see the next one, please. And this is from Knossos. There was this beautiful, amazing palace where the kings and queens of Knossos lived. And these frescoes have been found there, over 4,000 years old. The picture of the prince and the lilies and the bull fighting, or bull dancing rather. They weren't fighting with the bull, they were dancing over it. The bull was very sacred to the Minoan civilization. Next one, please. This is Hanyang, which is the second largest city of Crete, and it's known for its jasmine and its bougainvillea. As you walk in the alleys, and you're just filled with this wonderful smell and the beautiful bright colors of the bougainvillea. Beautiful, beautiful town. It's known as the cultural center of Crete. Next one, please. This is Rethymnon, which is the city that is closest to my village, Amari. And it's known for this harbor it has, and also a very lovely Venetian castle, the Fortezza, which was supposed to protect the city, but was used only once and it fell in a day. So it wasn't very good as a protector of the city, but it's really lovely to go there for a walk. The next one, please. And the fourth city of Crete is Agios Nikolaos. It is a very picturesque little town, and it was built around a lake. And there you will find a statue of a bull with a lady on it. And this lady is called Europa. For there is a myth saying that Zeus brought Europa on a bull to Crete, and that actually Europe, the name, is given in honor of Europa. So that is how Europe is named. The next one, please. So Crete rather, we have so many vegetables. It's a really rich and fertile land. We have lots of greenhouses as well, and we can feed the whole of Greece and also export. And this little picture here is from my garden in my village. You can see how dry and arid the ground is all around it. The next one, please. So my village is here on the foothills of Psiloriti, that golden pink mountain you can see in the distance. Psiloriti, and this valley, that all that you can see, is known to be the boyhood place of Zeus. This is where he played as a boy with Pan, Zeus, king of the gods, when he wasn't king of the gods at the time. And this was his immortal valley, Amarion Alsos. So Amari means immortal. And in Greece, because we have so many mountains, they usually all have some sort of myth connected to them. They're very special. So this is known as Zeus' mountain, where he grew up. And at the foothills of this mountain is my village, Amari. Next one, please. So in the whole of Greece, not only in Amari, we have our greatest festival, which is Easter. It is the festival of spring. It's when we celebrate spring. We celebrate the resurrection of Christ, Jesus Christ, but also we celebrate our freedom from the Ottoman Empire. So I just wanted to show you, this is the priests and how they dressed. And and here they are doing their thing. Now in my village, what we do is on the Friday, on the Saturday, because Easter Sunday is always Easter is always on a Sunday. On the Saturday, all the men and the boys, they go out and they collect twigs and wood and whatever they can, and they put it on top of a hill, and then they build a scarecrow. And we call the scarecrow Judas, who was the one who he betrayed Jesus Christ. And at midnight, as soon as the the priests, these priests here, say Christos Anesti, which means Christ has arisen. Then we set fire to the bonfire, and also there are lots of firecrackers there, and Judas is burned, and people start shooting in the air with these pistols and guns. I think there's a war going on, and it's all in celebration and memory of the first free Easter that we had after our independence from the Ottoman Empire. Next one, please. Next one, please. At Easter, we eat Easter bread, tureki, you can see there, it's lovely, and we paint eggs red. At the end of, that's at Easter, at spring, and then at the beginning of autumn, our great festival is making wine. That's fine, it's fine. And you can see the next slide where we are picking grapes. In the distance there, there's, no, one back, please. Anyway, and here we are, yeah. Here, thank you. In the distance there, you can see Amari and how small it is. And here we are picking grapes. You can see in a close-up, it's olive trees and vineyards. This is most of Crete covered in these. And some years back, we actually we made the wine by treading on it. Can we see there our feet? And the next slide, yeah, there we are treading on the wine, and we call it the 100-toe wine. Our feet were very clean, and this was many years ago as well. It was lovely. So the next slide, please. This is Crete, a long island, and I hope that one day you will visit us. And thank you so much for listening.
Well, I don't know about the children, but I'm sure dying to go there, waiting for the flights to resume, things to get better, COVID to be a shadow, and to travel. And I'm sure that all of you are also wanting to go to Greece, right? But then, of course, for all your friends and others, who are unable to travel to Greece as yet, you can travel to Greece. I mean, everyone else can travel to Greece the way you did today through this video. So once again, what you're supposed to do, share this video with all of them so that they can travel the way you travel to Greece today, right? And as I said again, do not forget to subscribe to the channel or like the page. Before we go on to the child storytelling, right? Stella, would you like to say anything, any parting words to the children before we move on to listening to one of the children and then end the show?
Well, I hope you really enjoyed what I had to share with you. And thank you very much for listening.
Okay. Well,